Welcome to another episode of the Teaching Tidbits series. We are very fortunate to have today Professor Juan Preciado, who is a professor of health education in the education department. He is one of the first faculty at Hostos that has taught online and using Blackboard. And we're going to be talking about Blackboard today, and the topic is how to use this learning management system, Blackboard, to improve retention.
Well, first, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to share some of our experiences. And basically, the question that people ask when we talk about retention is how do we keep the students in the college, and hopefully, if we retain them, we graduate more. Of course, there is no question that we have student services that are very valuable resource to retain the students. Advisement, the coaches are services that we all need, and that's very effective, well tested. However, the classroom is an important factor that sometimes we neglect to mention when we talk about retention. After all, learning happens in the classroom. If the students are engaged in the classrooms, they're not going to leave. So fortunately, Blackboard has many features that can help us engage students in the learning process, hopefully for lifelong learning, and also it can help us provide them with corrective and positive feedback, which is very important in each part of the learning process.
So how do you take advantage of this technology? How do you approach designing your course to make sure that then you have students that are going to be able to be retained in your class?
Well, the first step that you need to take is, like in any other course, you have a planning tool, which is your syllabus. And in the syllabus, you have to create the expectations and make also the student feel comfortable that they can succeed in the class. And to make sure that they know that, I have a quiz to test their ability to understood my instructions. Did they understand it? Did they read the expectations and the syllabus? And I found that through that quiz, where at least I can make sure that they read it and they know it.
So you set the expectations for students at the beginning of the semester. Now, how do you structure your learning unit?
Right. Typically, the learning unit is designed based on what most faculty do with their courses, which is you have chapters, assigned readings, usually one chapter per learning unit. And typically I have, depending on the course, because I have 3 preparations every semester, and the course will typically have quizzes and discussion board assignments.
How do you approach quizzing to make sure that the students don't feel that stress?
I make sure that that quiz that they have to take, that they know that they're going to have an opportunity to get a better grade. That is not a one or nothing type of deal. But I make sure also they understand that those opportunities, of course, come with certain responsibilities. What are they? Well, if a student wants to take a quiz and feel uncomfortable or said, I didn't really do well, can I do it again? Yes. But you need to study more. And if you study more, you may get a better grade. But if you get a lower grade, then you have to stay with that lower grade. But professor, this is my second chance, got a lower grade. Well, don't worry, you still have a third attempt. You may get a better grade, but you need to study more. Now, one of the problems that I had in the last, I don't know how many years now, was that the students would say, okay, well, I'm just going to take it, now it's 9 feet, 247, I'm going to take it right now, and at 3 o'clock I'm done. At 3:01, I'll take it again. And I take it again at 3:05. So they were doing that for a bit, and I thought, what am I going to do now? Okay, well, so I said, well, I'm going to make them pause 30 minutes, which is what they're supposed to do anyway. And I'm trying that since last semester, and it seems I have worked better because some of the students understand now that by waiting that time, they can read the material again and increase their chances of getting a better grade. That's how I use quizzes to engage students and to give them the opportunity to do better, and also to perhaps lesser the stress by having the opportunity to take it again.
How do you prevent that students will be getting the same type of questions?
What I do, and I'm very careful when I plan my quizzes, is that I make sure I have a pool of questions where, for example, the quiz has 10 questions. Usually the typical chapter quiz has 10 questions. I have 30 in the pool, which the computer will randomly select and present it to the student at every attempt, so they don't get the same question. Second, student will never know what they got wrong. So they only know the first attempt I got a 6. What did I got wrong? I don't know. So you need to study more to make sure you got those that you got wrong right.
There was one other item in the element in the creation of the learning unit. You talked about discussion boards.
Oh, yes.
Can you explain how you approach in designing the discussion board?
We need to look for ways of provoking a reaction that could be more productive, in the sense that they could engage more with the material and at the same time elicit more response from the student. So I try to design questions in discussion board that try to see if I can get them to react to the material in a way that relates to them. So in that way, we try to use a question that primes the student in their own reaction without reading, but at the same time said, okay, but that reaction, now you have to think about what the chapter says, what the experts say. Now, how do I make sure the students keep engaged? I use several strategies. The first strategy that I use is that the first 2 or 3 people who respond to the discussion board, I give them immediate feedback. And I even put a sign after the immediate feedback that said, students who respond for the first time will get immediate feedback. This is to try to get the students not to respond to the last day, but at the beginning of the week or the learning unit. And I provide 3 types of feedback generally. One, student who does not respond to the forum, which is rare, but it does, 1 or 2 students. And I said, oh, I see you forgot to respond to the forum. Please make sure you check your Hostos email because I reminded you. The other one is, if you got it wrong, I said, well, you got this part wrong, and that's why you have 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3, or 1 out of 3. And the last one is I pick the best answers, and I make sure I tell them this is an excellent response. I'm very happy about what you did. This is the way you have to do this type of assignment. So I find that at least students tell me that it's very helpful to them.
We have a lot more to cover in this topic with Professor Preciado, and we are going to be creating a second part. So we invite you to stay tuned. We're going to be sharing a lot more information for all of the tips and experiences from Professor Preciado. And until the second part, we want to thank Professor Preciado for sharing all of his experience, and thanking everybody for tuning in the Teaching Tidbits.
Thank you.